All right, Drive Radio fans, your host John Rush. This is the long review, 2014 Range Rover, made by Land Rover, long wheelbase, supercharged. Now you're asking me, that's really a weird name. Well, that's just how Range Rover does it. This model, as we drove it, $122,000, 950. Let me rephrase that, $122,950. That's a better way for me to say that. Basically $123,000. The short wheelbase version of this car starts off in the low 80s. The long wheelbase version, just like this car, without all the options, is in the low 100s. So this car has roughly about $15,000 or so worth of options on it. We'll get into that in just a moment. 510 horsepower, 16 miles to the gallon. This car is heavy, but it still scoots with 510 horsepower. It does 0 to 60 in around 5 seconds, just slightly over 5 seconds. So you can tell from that, the car runs really, really well. This is a luxury car, and at $123,000, it's not for everybody. But we've talked about this before. A lot of you are going to look and say, John, why in the world are you reviewing that car? Very few of us out here can afford to buy it. Well, that's true today. These reviews will stay on YouTube for quite some time, and you know what? 5-6 years down the road, this car will be a lot less money. Somebody at that point in time may very well want to buy that vehicle. So for some of you out there that would say, why review such an expensive car? Well, number one, there are people out there, believe it or not, that can write a check for this car or finance it or do whatever, and that's why they build them. If they didn't think they could sell them, they wouldn't build them, so evidently they can. Second of all, they will become used cars in the market, thereby making a good buy for somebody on down the road. But let's do a walk around. Very rounded. They've gotten rid of, in the old days, this was a very square-bodied car. They've now made things nice and rounded. One feature this has is there's a light here. When you open the door, it shines Range Rover down on the ground. Kind of a cool thing that Range Rover does with their vehicles, which is really nice. Long wheelbase version, you'll notice the door here, very wide. When we get into the interior portion, we'll talk about that. That's the difference between the long wheelbase version and the short wheelbase version. There's, I'm guessing, I didn't look at the numbers, but about a foot of extra space, about 12 inches of extra space there. This car is very nice, dual range, four-wheel drive, which means it does have low range built into it. It's very off-road capable. Not that you'd take a $122,000 car off-road, but although I was in that business, off-road business, for 27 plus years, and you'd be surprised what people will take off-road. So I've seen it all. Yes, this vehicle is very capable of going off-road. But let's get into the interior and the driving portion. We're going to do the driving portion next. We'll come back, we'll do the interior portion. Very nice car. You'll see that as we go through the interior and some of the other things. But again, we talk about it a lot. If you're really interested in this type of a car, go drive it. You'll be very surprised once you do. But join us. We're going to go drive it. We'll come back and do the interior. All right, folks, we're going to go through the driving portion. And, you know, I was talking to my son Richard in between the breaks in this review. We could literally spend 30 minutes minimum on this review. I know y'all don't have time to watch it, but there's so many things this car does, so many different features, etc. One little just cool feature, and a lot of the exotic, high-end cars have this, but you watch the steering wheel, the tilt, telescopic mechanism, all electronic. You can get this thing positioned exactly where you want it, position your seat exactly where you want it. Memory, by the way, on either side. The passenger side has dual memory control. I've got 3 different levels, or there's actually 3 on the passenger side too, so 3 different memory positions for each seat, passenger and drivers. Anyways, let's take a drive. We won't go off-roading in it, and I don't think I would in the first place, so it's just me, but some of you out there would. I'm going to on purpose hit some of these rougher areas in the road, and we've got a real rough road to go over, and I think you'll see that the camera just doesn't move a whole lot. Richard can attest to this. It's just a very smooth, quiet. As you can tell, I haven't even had to raise my voice while we're driving, which a lot of the other cars we review, I have to get my voice, octaves up just so you can hear us. This car, I could whisper and you'd be able to hear it. It's just that quiet. In fact, I think for a moment I'll just stop talking. I'll let Richard view, or go ahead and record, and you'll just see how quiet this car actually is as we go over some of these bumps. We're not that quiet that often, so apologize for the little bit of a pause there, but I wanted you to see just how quiet this car is on the interior. It's a joy to drive. It's luxurious. Richard's got the massage seats going now that are on the interior. He mentioned that in the short review. Again, very cool thing. This is a car that's meant to be comfortable to drive, and as I've said a couple of times already, and I'll continue to say it, this car is meant for the high-end market. And in some cases, it's going to be an executive, you know, buying this car, potentially even having a driver or a company, you know, buying this car and shuttling their people to and from places, airports, etc. You know, that's the main use I see for this car. The typical, you know, grocery getter, soccer moms, you know, some of you guys driving to and from work, I doubt if you're going to buy this car. That's just not the market that it's designed for. But on the same token, you know, hey, what? If you want to do that and you've got the ability and the money to do it, you know what, more power to you. Have fun. It's a great car. It's enjoyable to drive. Would I drive this car every day? If I could write the check and afford it, you betcha I would drive this car every day. I've loved every minute of it. I hate to give it back, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. The power band, how it drives, it's smooth, just everything about this car. I mean, I just can't say anything bad about it. I mean, typically speaking, I don't talk too negatively about some cars. I will at times, but this particular car, I just don't have anything negative to say. It's a great car. It runs well, drives well, smooth. I've loved it. The downside is it's $123,000, and you'll have to write the check and decide if, or you'll have to decide if you can write the check and actually do that, or even I don't know why you'd finance $123,000, but you decide for yourself. Continue to watch us. We're going to go through the interior here in just a moment. All right, we're back. Hope you enjoyed the driving portion. As I've said, $123,000. My son was just noting, Richard, who's behind the camera, I believe this is the most expensive car yet that we've reviewed. Not that that means anything, but it is. One cool feature that I do like on this car, we'll open the back hatch here. We'll kind of show you how this works. The back hatch, it's all automatic. It's not a dual mode back. The hatch opens there, and it's dual mode in the fact that now this, I push another button, this will automatically then fold down, which you can either leave it up or down depending on how you're doing it. Privacy, you know, which this is not soft, which a lot of folks do. This is actually a hard cover. One thing you can do with this vehicle is you can adjust the seats that are back here. Richard was talking about them reclining and such. I can actually move these up and down, fold them all the way down, recline them, do whatever I need to do right from back here to either give you more cargo room or adjust for the back passenger. You can also do that in that area, but I'm just noting that you can do that back here. But as you can see, lots of cargo space back here. This is a very big, luxurious vehicle. In fact, we were driving up here to do the review, and my son mentioned that, you know, this is probably a vehicle where, you know, somebody might drive this, a big executive, where you've actually got a driver for the car. There's a lot of room in the middle seat. You're able to then do some work, have some meetings, even while you're driving this car to and from an airport, things along those lines. That's what this car is probably more designed for versus just a typical grocery getter. But to close it, again, hit that. It should fold everything back up, which it does all automatically. Very nice feature. Richard's going to come, well, I tell you what, let's come around this side where it's lighter, Richard, and let's do the back seat. Position this to try to get the sun to where you guys can see inside a little better. You can see, very, very luxurious, very big back seat. Controls for the passenger, or for both passengers that are in this back seat. I'm going to climb in here in just a moment so you can see just how much room is back here. But when I get in this, and again, we do this on purpose, this seat's all the way back. Like Richard said, you could cross your legs, you could hang out, you know, really you can do whatever you want to do. There's other options you can get in this vehicle, storage compartments, iPad holders, all different things you can do. And if Richard, if you can get a shot from back here, this is kind of cool. Full length sunroof, so even the back passengers get the view out the top. There's vents back here in the back for the passengers. As Richard said, 4-position HVAC. If you didn't watch the long review, this does have a 4-position or 4-zone, I guess you could say, climate control. Sound system is great. Well, and another cool thing that they've kind of done, and you would expect this on a $122,000 car, you know, everything as far as storage goes is kind of hidden. You know, you don't just see these open pockets. There is here for the headphones, which they've got stuck in here, which you'd probably have something else in. But for the most part, all of the storage compartments are pretty well hidden. It just makes it for a very nice car. One thing this car also has, if you just noticed how I shut that door, I don't have to slam the door. If I just shut it, it will suck itself in and actually makes it for, again, just a very nice car, another added feature. Let's go to the front seat while we're here. And we talked about some of this stuff on the driving portion, but we'll get into this a little bit more. Luxury. That's really the name of the game on this car. I just can't stress that enough. And you would expect that at $122,000, $123,000. But as I said a moment ago, 4-zone, climate control, dual glove box, leather wrapped heated steering wheel, all the controls here, very well laid out dash. You know, I'll move some of this stuff out of the way where you can kind of see this is what it would look like closed. So all of this is nice and clean. All of your controls for for transmission controls, transfer case controls, console. There's actually a cooler in this particular model, as you can see from the plastic tray in there. Again, very, very luxurious on the inside. I just can't stress enough about how much of a joy it was to drive this car. This is one of those cars that you just hate to give back after a week's worth of driving it. Adjustable armrests. And I will say, Land Rover, if you're listening, one thing that I'm not sure you really need, especially for somebody that's more full size like myself, yeah, okay, I could lose 20 pounds, I admit it. You don't really need this extra armrest in here. In fact, it kind of gets cumbersome sometimes in the way. It is adjustable where you can make it higher or lower depending upon your position, but typically I had it driving up, as you can see, enough room here. I don't know if this is needed. It's kind of an add-on they've had for years. I just don't know whether you need it or not. But as you can see, all soft touch materials everywhere. You don't see any cheap plastic on the inside of this car. Everything is done very nice. It's either wood grain or it's a material that they put, leather in this case, that they've put on top of the underlayment that's there. I have no complaints on this car. Quiet, smooth ride. It's not cumbersome like the old Land Rovers that you would think of in the past, where they were underpowered, wouldn't get out of their own way, big, boxy. This car is sleek, it's easy to drive, it runs well, it drives well. We averaged, I believe I said already, 16 miles to the gallon, which isn't bad for this type of a vehicle. This is a heavy body on frame full vehicle, locking center differential, locking rear differential. Again, check out more of our reviews if you'd like to. We're all on YouTube. One word: Drive Radio. Go to the search bar, they're all there. We got many reviews. Watch our short review if you want. If you want to see a different approach from my 22-year-old son, go ahead and do that. Look at some of our other reviews, subscribe to our channel. Most of all, listen to us on Saturdays. Drive Radio, we're on KLZ 560 here in the Denver market. You can find us on the TuneIn app. You can also find us on our website, and we also do our radio shows on YouTube live every Saturday. You can go to drive-radio.com, watch us do it in the studio itself. But again, hope you're enjoying these reviews. Keep watching, subscribe to our channel, tell your friends and family about us, and continue to watch us. We'll bring more to you each and every week. I'm your host, John Rush, Drive Radio.